folks, and welcome back inside Manhattan basketball. Christian and I will joined by the head coach of Manhattan women's basketball, John Olenowski. Coach, how we doing?
Good, Christian. Good to see you again.
As with this team right now, the last couple of games, I want to go back to Niagara. Obviously, here at home, I know it was a very difficult loss, and you even said after the game, you guys were not happy, very disappointed with that contest. But it seems as though the last couple of games, going back to Iona, there have just been stretches where the offense has sputtered for this team.
Yeah, we really have to shore that up quickly. There's times when we're playing well defensively and we're moving the ball on the offensive end, but we go through a drought of 4, 5, 6 possessions where we don't score, and the other team does, and then we bury ourselves a little bit in a hole that's hard to come back. So consistency on the offensive end has been a big focus for us throughout the week.
Is it an execution thing? Is it maybe just plain missing shots? Where do you see maybe the most improvement to be made?
Well, I think it's a little both. I think that we're getting good shots. We have good opportunities. I think sometimes we don't knock down those shots, and I think that really hurts us. And sometimes our shooters get a little less confidence when things aren't going well. But we have to really establish an inside game when we're having a scoring drought, and that way we can get to the foul line and hopefully start making some of the shots that we had that were open. So we've worked on it. It's been a problem, and there's no doubt as far as closing out games, it's come back to haunt us.
As much as maybe players lose confidence when they're not scoring, how much confidence do you though regain when you can sit there and look back and say, look, we had Iona on the ropes at Iona, if just not for that moment?
Well, yeah, definitely we had that. The run that they made late in the game was just something we could not overcome. In the Niagara game, we came all the way back, and we had a shot with 4 seconds to go. We had a wide-open look that we didn't knock down, and that sent it into overtime. So we played well against Iona. We were right there with Niagara and disappointed in that outcome. And then we were disappointed in our last basketball game as well. But from the offensive standpoint, when you score 70 points, you really should come back with a W in that kind of a game.
Last game, obviously, the road trip to Monmouth. Beat them here, split the season series the first time as conference opponents between you two squads. Able to make another comeback, unfortunately unable to get all the way back and be able to tie it or get the victory late. But that game just seemed to go back and forth between the two teams.
Yeah, it was one of those type games where it was really up and down, and we had some good moments. We had some good possessions. We played well, especially at the start of the contest, but they had a post player that's really stepped up, Sarah English, who's had a double-double against Iona right before our game, and then she had 19 and 14. So she was very, very tough to compensate inside. So it was a disappointing ending, but certainly we played hard that game.
Don't want to sit there and say if this then that, obviously at all, but the loss, I shouldn't say the loss, but not the absence of Kayla Grimmie. How big has that been to the inside presence?
Well, it's been huge because she's a player that gave us 3 straight double-doubles, which you've never had a player like that before. So she was our leading rebounder in just a short time frame, whatever, and an instant scorer inside. So we sorely miss her. And, of course, Mickey Guyton with his career season-ending injury at the beginning of the year. Mickey is a tremendous athlete, great rebounder, and she would have shored up some rebounding problems for us as well. So we've certainly had to compensate a little bit and do the best we can, but it does hurt us. There's no way around it. They were great players, great rebounders, and that's what we recruited them to come to Manhattan for it to do. And it's just one of those unfortunate things that some teams have to go through, and unfortunately it's us.
Is there any light at the end of the tunnel for Kayla for this year?
No. As a matter of fact, I think it's a safe bet to just announce that Kayla will be receiving season-ending surgery next week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So as for her, and you talked about it, the injuries, I mean, Mickey, Kayla, but to be able to have them all eventually come back,
right.
Is that one of those things where it's just, hey, let's save her? She's only a freshman. There's no need to rush her.
Well, there's no need to rush her, and in addition to that, she's under the limit, so we can redshirt her, and she'll get 4 solid seasons here at Manhattan, which is really a big boost for us. So we're looking at that way as a positive, and she's looking at that way as a positive. So it's the right decision to make at this time, but certainly doesn't help us in our quest to get rebounding strength inside. So we just have to compensate more and get better production from all around all our players, even our guards.
We've talked about the offensive struggles. It seems that sometimes your senior point guard almost takes it upon herself, Allison, just driving down the lane and getting in layups.
What she did against Monmouth, for sure. She had 14 points, 10 assists. She had a terrific basketball game, and she does that a lot. She really becomes a scorer when we need her to, but yet she's a really, really good passer and has a lot of assists on the season. So she's had a great season, and she steps up when we need her to, but again, we need production from other members to really get that victory that we're looking for.
As you look forward for this team, Siena coming up on the road, a team that I know was a very tough loss to take here at home. After that game, did you go and circle this one on the calendar at all when you travel up to Albany?
Well, we were very disappointed. We knew that we did not play well in the second half. We knew that run that they made late in the game was just something that we were very, very disappointed in our effort. So again, they deserved it. They got it, and and we just have to get better and be better prepared to play in this time for sure.
As always, Coach, I'd like to get the fans involved. We've got 2 fan questions, and with the Super Bowl approaching here in New York, both are actually centered around the big game coming up on Sunday. Super Bowl Media Day on Tuesday. It's one of those things where hundreds of media members show up and the most random questions get asked. So, if you were at Super Bowl Media Day today, what would be the most random question that you could ask any one player on either team?
I think I would go for Richard Sherman because he's an easy target right now, and I think what I would ask Richard is that outburst that he had he ever made those outbursts before? Deep down, was he really sincere when he apologized, or is that just his emotions or whatever? I'd like to know what type player he really is, because actually what type person, because I know he's an outstanding player. So I think that's what I would focus if I'd go after Richard and ask him some questions, because he's quite an interesting study right now for all the local media.
And then finally, Coach, your prediction for Sunday.
Well, if you remember, I've been right the last 2 years, Christian.
Yes.
So the bottom line is I believe in defense, and I believe the cold weather is going to help, and I believe that they're going to be able to shut down Peyton Manning just enough, and I'm looking at a 24-21 Seattle victory.
Should be a good one down on Sunday if it's 24-21.
Absolutely.
Continuing to look forward for this team, obviously, Siena coming up on the road, but then you get to come back home and take on a Rider team where you had the victory on the road. And it's almost kind of the opposite of what we were just talking about with Siena. When you go on the road and beat a team, how much do you all of a sudden think that there's a target on your back when you've got to come back and host them later?
Well, there's no doubt they're going to come in here all fired up. Rider always plays as tough, and they're a really, really good basketball team. So we know the energy that they're going to have, and they're going to look to certainly return the favor, so to speak, against us. So we know that we've got to really step up in order to do well in that basketball game. So, but we talk about it, and it's preparation that we're going to have to be ready for. But again, they'll come in fired up, and we've got to really be ready to match that intensity.
With the way that the new conference is with 11 teams and the way the scheduling changes, and there's whether it's a bye week on a Saturday or a bye on a Wednesday, whatever it is it difficult to fall into a rhythm in terms of the scheduling? Because some days some weeks it's a Monday game, some weeks it's a Thursday, Saturday, Friday, Sunday. It seems like it just fluctuates.
It does. It fluctuates quite a bit, and it's kind of trial and error when you get a new schedule with 20 games, whatever. But I'm in favor of it. I like it. I know we had to play like 4 games in 8 days, but again, you've got to get the games in sometime, and you've got to be prepared. And as long as you know long in advance of what it's like, then really you can target that and prepare for that. And we did that. Whether we won or lost, we certainly were ready for each and every basketball game. So it's different, but I think you adjust to it, and I think the players have no problem with it.
Everybody talked about the Western Buffalo trip, Western New York swing as a very difficult trip to make because of the travel with it.
Right.
What kind of problems does the trip to Siena present? Because it's one of those, it's almost too short for a plane, but it's a very long bus ride.
Yeah, it's a very long bus ride, which we'll be heading tomorrow. And I'm more concerned with the next game than I am that we won't be ready for this one, because we'll have plenty of time to get there. We'll have plenty of time to have proper rest and have our shoot around. But what I'm worried about is getting on that bus coming back and then making sure we get enough rest to be ready for the next game, which happens to be Ryder.
And now for this team, an opportunity to play on an ESPN3 contest, which you can watch Manhattan take on Siena at ESPN3.com. For that opportunity to play on that kind of platform, what's that like?
It's always exciting. The girls love to be able to be on TV and to play well on TV. And fortunately, over the last few years, we've played extremely well. We upset Marist 2 years ago, and then last year we played Marist to a very, very good basketball game here. So the girls look forward to it, and we think that we're ready to go in this one.
So what are your keys then against the Saints?
Well, I think this time around we've got to make sure we get back on defense. They got way too many easy transition baskets. We've got to do a better job on the boards. The margin was just way, way too much last time. And then I think, as we just talked about before, we need consistency on the offensive end. We can't have any droughts. We can't have any 3-4 minute stretches where we don't score. So we've really got to execute our offense better and be a little stronger and get to the foul line more. Let's get some foul shots and some easy shots to go along with the rest of our game plan.
When you're facing a team for the second time of the season, how much of it are you watching your first game as opposed to watching maybe other games Siena has played?
Well, you do both, because again, they could be a very different basketball team from the last time you saw them, but they're very similar. I mean, they play hard, they play well, they're very, very athletic, and I think defensively they do a great job of switching from their man to zone, and they're a tough basketball team. So I think that it's really important that you know what happened last time, but kind of watch to see how they're playing currently.
Jaspers take on Siena Thursday on ESPN3. As always, if you'd like to ask Coach a question, you can tweet us at GoJaspers. You can email us gojaspers@manhattan.edu. And don't forget, you can follow Coach on Twitter at John Olenowski. Coach, thanks a lot for the time.
Thank you, Christian.
And thanks for joining us inside Manhattan Basketball.